Hello everyone! Today I'm going to be breaking a rule of mine and talking about a book that I didn't read recently. I read it in early 2014, a few months before I started posting videos on YouTube. I always wanted to talk about it, or at least mention it if I didn't do a full review of it, but I never got around to it. But with the Winter Olympics currently underway, my mom and I have been watching a lot of figure skating. That's our favorite Olympic sport. And as always happens, when I watch pair skating in particular, I can't help thinking of the legendary pairing that was Gordeeva and Grinkov. Russian pair skaters Ekaterina Gordeeva and Sergei Grinkov won numerous world championships and were two-time gold medalists at the 1988 and 1994 Olympic Games. Between those two Olympic bids, Katia and Sergei fell in love, married, and had a little girl. But in 1995, tragedy struck when Sergei, aged 28, suddenly suffered a heart attack during a practice session and passed away, leaving Katia a heartbroken young widow, a single mother, and a pair skater without her partner. In time, Katia was able to pour out her grief and her love for her husband in this book, My Sergei, a Love Story, written with E.M. Swift and published in 1996. I was very young when Gordeeva and Grinkov made their triumphant return to the Olympics in Lillehammer, but I'm almost positive I saw it on TV. That was a big year for figure skating. There were a lot of big names participating, a lot of news stories, and I remember a lot of that stuff. I remember jumping and prancing around the house trying to imitate the skaters' moves that I saw on TV. Prancing is probably too elegant a word for it. What I was doing was more like galumphing because I was about as light on my feet as an elephant. But I also seem to remember when the shocking news of Sergei's untimely death was announced, and later, after Katia's book had been published, I found an article in a copy of Reader's Digest that was in my grandfather's house, and I tore it out, and I saved it, and I still have it after all these years. This was in a March 1997 issue of Reader's Digest. I'm not sure if I saw it then. It might have been a couple years later. My grandfather had stacks and stacks of Reader's Digests in the house, and I got to take bags of them home and go through them, and I liked to tear out pages that had stories or quotes or jokes that I liked, and I put some of them in a little scrapbook. The article was relatively short, only 4 pages long. It had a couple photos, this one that I loved of Gordeeva and Grinkov on the ice, and this one of Gordeeva and their daughter Daria. It has excerpts from the book, just a little teaser, a condensed version of their story, and over the years I would occasionally take this out and reread it and make a mental note to read the book sometime, and finally, after 15 years, I did read it, and I really enjoyed it. It's an incredibly moving story. The inevitable heartache toward the end made me cry a lot, but it was also a little humorous in parts. These were skating superstars of the late 80s, early 90s, but they were also two very normal kids who ended up stuck together, who then ended up falling in love. Reading about their personal story, Katia's intense discipline and reserve, Sergei's initial indifference toward her, how a bad fall she took affected him and changed their relationship, how becoming a couple altered their skating. Learning about all of that made me appreciate them even more when I went back to watch videos of their performances. I've always been drawn to the more graceful skaters who can fly across the ice and make the jumps and lifts and spins look effortless and fluid, and Gordeeva and Grinkov are considered among the best of all time. They were impeccable technically speaking, their synchronization flawless, but their execution was so full of beauty and joy that it made them an absolute pleasure to watch. They were paired by a coach at a very young age. She was only 11, he was 14 or 15. She was so petite, with a huge smile. He seemed almost twice her size, yet was so gentle and considerate, and as they grew up and grew closer, they only improved. I especially love their exhibition performances, which I find so moving. They're the epitome of romantic skating. They're so in tune with each other as they glide silently across the ice, skating together as one and so in love. What eventually happened is heartbreaking, but Katia speaks with gratitude for the time she had with Sergei, for her memories, and for their daughter. Their story is sad, but also uplifting, as Katia was able to find the strength and inspiration to continue on. She's still skating today, performing as a professional singles skater, and she's found happiness again with another Russian skater, Ilya Kulik, and given birth to a second daughter. I should also mention that this book gives an interesting insider's look at a skater's life in the Soviet Union, where training was state-funded and success on the world stage was paramount. The international competitions sound exhausting, and Katia is very open about her struggles and disappointments, times when she was unhappy with herself or depressed. She also talks about traveling the world and visiting America, struggling with the culture clash and the language barrier, but ultimately deciding to make the United States their home during the upheaval and breakup of the Soviet Union. The book also includes a number of photographs, pictures of them training when they were young, skating in competition, and skating professionally, and also snapshots from their short but sweet happy life as a family. I'm so glad that I finally read the book. I've always been fascinated by this couple and the special connection they had that made their skating so breathtaking. Theirs was a lovely, bittersweet romance. I don't have much more to say about the book itself. If I'd read it more recently, I'd probably have more to share, but I guess this wasn't so much a critical overview of the book as it was a collection of my thoughts on Gordeeva and Grinkov. I certainly recommend the book to you if you were ever a fan of them as a pair, or if you enjoy figure skating in general, or if you just want to hear a good, true love story. I hope you'll look them up if you've never heard of them before, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching!